So my guest this morning is one of the nation's top leaders in understanding human potential and inspiring greatness. Rodney C. Burris can help people realize how to become different and better than their circumstances, background, conditions by focusing on the simple changes that achieve the big goals. Rodney has assisted numerous companies with team building, communication, data evaluation, and program development. His workshops and seminars are among the most popular in colleges, corporations, nonprofits, and schools throughout the United States and abroad. As an international speaker, youth advocate, professional development coach, and published author, Rodney inspires people to discover and reach their fullest potential. To inspire means to fill someone with the urge or ability to do or feel something. Rodney C. Burris. That was a tweet from Rodney. Although his demand is international, Rodney's heart is helping the city of Baltimore. We also know it as B-more. He is a mainstay in the halls of Baltimore City Schools and as leading voice for school advocacy and neighborhood revitalization. Rodney served as an elected official for the 43rd District of Baltimore City. The same energy that Rodney brings to the stage is captured in several acclaimed books. In Get Off the Cycle and Run, he illustrates how to identify and succeed past the subtle patterns that keep us repeating our heartbreaks. And his book, The 5 Fast Features for Fixing Firms, is a collection of effective, budget-friendly tools for improving your organization. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Reading Circle microphones, Rodney C. Burris. Rodney, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, New Jersey.
I know that's right. And like I said, man, I felt your energy as soon as we connected, a couple minutes ago. I said, oh, yeah,
right, man.
We're going to have a good time.
I was looking forward to this. I remember that Clubhouse. So does everybody know what Clubhouse is, Mark?
I don't know. You can explain it a little bit. Go ahead.
So Clubhouse is yet, again, another app, right? And it's like, oh, my goodness, another app. So when I first heard about Clubhouse, I left it alone, and people were tweeting about it, and I'm seeing people post about it on Facebook. I'm like, I'm not joining another app. I'm not downloading, Mark, one more thing on my phone just to kind of keep up with. Eventually I did. And so the premise of Clubhouse is all voices, no writing, right? There's no pictures uploaded, there's no videos, no stories or any of that 24-hour stuff. Everything is live. And so what you do is you join these rooms and you get together and you talk about different things. And so the people that open a room will put up at the top, this is talking about sports. So this is talking about why we love ham and cheese sandwiches, right? It could be the most profound topics and the most simple kind of like, this is the things that make us tick, right? And if you do a lot of it, you can have your own club. And we consistently talk about the same things. And so anyway, Pam Perry, the lady that he just mentioned, she's a great publicist. She's been working in media and marketing for a long time. I didn't even know, man. I think that she worked on a project that actually earned an Emmy. I found that out recently, Mark, and I was blown away by that. I just had no idea about the reach that Pam has. I know that she's great people, and so she often hosts the room, and I was joining as I do here and there, just kind of meeting good people. And everybody, there was a gentleman who came through full of light and energy by the name of Mark Medley. And Mark came on, and so Pam hosts her show, her Clubhouse, late at night, right? 9, 10 o'clock, something
That's
like
right.
that. So the energy that you guys feel with Mark at 7 in the morning was the same energy that Mark brought to the table 9 o'clock at night. And so at the time, I didn't know that he had a 7 a.m. show. All I know is that Pam gave him a bunch of accolades. And when good people recommend other good people, it already stamps their ticket, right? You're already good in my book. And so when he said, I would love to have any of your people on, I immediately jumped at the occasion. He was like, Rodney, you're going to have to come in 6:55, good brother. You're going to have to wake on up. So, yeah, man, I got up this morning, and I've just been looking forward to the conversation. If you guys want to just have something that you could just pop in your ear and sit down, like how you're doing with Mark, Clubhouse kind of provides that across the spectrum. So it's definitely something I recommend. Look out for Pam Perry. Look out for me. Look out for Mark and other good people. And feed your soul, man. That's what it's all about.
Oh, it really is. And this whole notion of inspiring, because interestingly enough, whenever I'm not doing Clubhouse and radio and everything else that I do in the media, my day job, as they call it, is a school principal. And in the school that I lead is a single gender school. It's an all boys school. So when we start, it's a leadership academy. And so whenever we start, one of my Facebook friends this morning hit me up on Facebook as I was sharing some stories from the school in the 6 o'clock hour. And she said, please keep on inspiring and doing what you do. And that's what we're going to be talking about this morning is inspiration, because that's why me and you connect so well, because we got that same energy. We got that same speak. We're kind of on that same purpose and path and same mission.
Right.
And so I'm excited about that. I just, I know there's a series in the books. I only read 2 there in the bio, and there's a few more than that. We're going to talk about those. But let's kind of where did this whole thing begin for you in terms of, ultimately doing what you're doing in terms of coaching and
yes, sir.
And workshops and seminars, because ultimately when I get done principling, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to travel the country doing that.
Man, we need a lot of it. It's so, Mark, there's so much opportunity. The need for it is out there, and I think that coming out of this period, this new normal, right? This kind of like, how do we relive now that a lot of the traditional constructs were just broken down, challenged, right? And reviewed and assessed. And some stood the test of time, and some of our traditional ways of just operating proved that they weren't absolutely necessary, right? They weren't absolutely necessary.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we found in the school system, we definitely found that out.
Yeah. And so because of that, the opportunities out, the thirst for people who want to just live different and better lives. Like, who am I now in the face of this? What is my relationship to myself? What do my relationships mean in general? And I always teach that relationships means all of them. Cousins, how I talk to my mama, right? How I talk to myself.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so that right there, that message is kind of universal, regardless if I'm in corporate situations or in schools. So your question, Mark, was, how did I get started? I got started in high schools, man. I got started in high schools, bro. And so I had a gentleman who was a great mentor of mine. My oldest kids are twins, right? They're in high school now. So subtract 10, 15 years off of their life. They're just coming into the world.
Right.
And I needed some additional money. I was working at a nonprofit, and I just felt the pressure of, like, I need to supplement my income. So me and he's like a big bro / mentor, worked at the job with me, and he jumped on the computer with me. We got on monster.com. I don't even know if Monster is still like a website for job searches. I don't even know. Career Builder, those things, man. And so we jumped on a site like that, and we found an opportunity. In the description, Mark was like, do you like talking to people? Do you like inspiring young minds? Are you funny? Are you funny looking? Right? I was like, check to all of the above, right? This is the I have a face for radio, right? Let's do this. They said, send us a video of you talking for 5 minutes, right, about any topic. And if you can hold our attention, we believe that you can hold the attention of young people in America. We'll contract you to be on our speakers bureau to go around talking about scholarships and life after graduation and career opportunities and all of that stuff, right? It sounded great. It sounded too good to be true. And I came from very, very humble beginnings, man. And you would never think it. You would never think so, because this poor little kid living in the projects, barely having food, right? I've been around the world. I've been in different places. I've been to the White House. I have been to, you just name it. But a lot of that just felt like luck. If I can be really honest, it just felt like I have no idea how I got here. And a lot of times, Mark, the opportunities that I did want didn't happen. So when you don't have, a lot of times children in traumatized situations can grow up like this. When I don't know what's going to make mom and dad tip off this time, I don't know what's going to make them yell or fuss. Sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's not. Sometimes because they had too much to drink. Sometimes it's just because it's Tuesday. Like when they grow up like that, sometimes they develop this shell, this attitude, this anger.
Correct.
Because it's a defense, right? Sometimes they go internal.
That's
and
correct.
You can't reach them. And that's their defense. And so for me, I had as much trauma as I did good fortune. And I couldn't map it. I didn't know how to tell you what the formula was. So fast forward, I'm a young adult. I'm becoming a parent. Baby's about to pop out here soon. I don't know what's going on, Mark. I don't know how to make this actually work. And so when he was excited for me about this, I was both. I was I had my feet in both worlds. Like, oh, this is kind of great, I guess. But I didn't think it was real. It was cool just to sit there and share that energy with him looking at the screen. He walked me around the job. He walked me to different managers of different departments. Rodney won't be here long. Rodney will not be here long. We just found something that's about to change. It's tailor-made for him. He's about to change his whole life. He won't be here. And he took me all the way to the CEO. Now, the CEO is a gentleman by the name of Joe Jones. Joe Jones is still at the helm of the organization, the Center for Urban Families, based in Baltimore, Maryland. Joe Jones has been on the advisory committee of presidents, good Mark. President Clinton,
wow.
President Obama, President George W. Bush, right? He's been working with these world leaders around family advocacy and initiatives for many, many years, since the mid-90s, right? Well, he took me to our CEO, Joe Jones, said the same thing. And Joe was like, well, Rod, and the whole time, Mark, I feel disconnected. I feel like they're talking about somebody else. Like, this is good for somebody else. Like, this will change somebody else's life. Sure, but yeah. But me? Like, these things I don't know how to make this happen. So, needless to say, I had no intention to make that video. I had no intention to submit. Like, why? Like, why do it? These things don't work. Like, that's not how things work. And so, that was a Friday. I left, Mark. Monday, I came back in. He met me at the door. Hey, talk to me about it. Like, how'd it go? Well, let me see the video. Did you send it in already or what? Oh, no, I didn't. Now, okay. Let's put some timestamps on this, right? So everybody is about to know exactly the period that I'm talking about based on the word I'm about to use. What I told him, Mark, his name is James, and what I told James was, I couldn't record, James, because I didn't have a camcorder. When's the last time you heard somebody use that word, Mark?
That's right.
That's right. The last time somebody used that word?
It's been years, but I tell you what, I remember having a camcorder.
Man, them camcorders, right? And so, because there's no such thing as just pulling out your phone. Because
they didn't exist at that point. That's right.
No, different devices. So I didn't have a camcorder. He was like, Rodney, I got equipment at the job. You could have used mine. What are you talking about? Well, nah, because, that's work, and this is like personal. If I do that, that's for a different job. And he was like, Rodney, not only am I the manager of the equipment, I walked you around to the other managers and see everybody knew that you were about to do this. What are you talking about? He read through all of my excuses. I must have sounded so lame, because the truth of the matter is that I just didn't feel qualified. I didn't feel connected to it. And this brother wears a suit every single day. To this day, I still know James. He wears a suit unless he's coaching his kids' football team. But outside of that, he wears suits. And this guy in full suit, I thought was about to hit me square in the mouth, man. Like he felt so offended that I was giving up on myself. Like he couldn't,
right.
Like he's looking at me, and the exuberance that he had, the jubilation that he felt about my opportunities in my future, it was that same level of passion, but in a disappointed kind of category. Like he was so just through with me, and he looked at me in the bottom of his eyes. I'll always remember this, Mark. Were rimmed with a clear, glassy tear. And he looked me in my face. He said, "Don't you ever let somebody be more excited about your future than you are for yourself."
I know that's right.
Yeah, man. And then he did something that changed my life, Mark. He walked me to each of those managers once again and to the CEO. He said, "I apologize on behalf of Rodney. He won't be going anywhere. This is the face of a gentleman that doesn't believe in himself. He'll be here." And I felt so crushed. And I felt so offended. And I felt so helpless. But and I felt broken. But Mark, I realized, man, that brokenness that I felt actually was my lame excuses, right? I'm a little dumb excuses about why my life can or can, and what that got challenged. Just like how we just talked about life paradigms getting challenged and realize that they don't hold up anymore.
Right.
That happened for me. I went home, and then that week I submitted my I recorded a video in my living room just talking about the work that I did at that job, right? As if I was talking to a room full of guys. I did that. I submitted it with my resume. They flew me out, right? As the folks say, I got flued out, and I've been running, and I started in high schools, in leadership schools, in single gender schools, up and down the East Coast, in Philly, New Jersey, Baltimore, D.C., New York, Detroit, Chicago. And I did that for a good 10 to 12 years. And then that eventually went into universities, and that eventually went into nonprofits and other type of Then I went into small business and then corporations. My largest client, man, Fiat Chrysler Automotive, based in Detroit, Michigan. Corporate, 14,000 employees. That was my largest client that I've ever done work with. And, yeah, man, multiple countries at this point. But I tell you this, it would be my honor to get in my car and drive from Baltimore up to Jersey and work with you and your boys around some of these same initiatives, man.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to take you up on that. We'll talk a little bit about that later on because, and this is prior to the pandemic, I exposed them boys to, we were having guest speakers come to them live, 1 or 2 a week, from you name it, from a custodian all the way up to a pilot, to an attorney. I exposed them to all types of, just for them to be able to see somebody who looked like them, and for them to put in their mind and say, you know what, that's what I want to be when I grow up. That's what I want to do.
That's right.
And so, by all means, but you said so much there in the beginning to unpack, and that was when you started the whole thing about the traumatization as a child.
Yeah, man.
I don't think people understand the role that being traumatized as a child plays as you move into adulthood.
Yeah, man.
I'm dealing with folks right now that traumatization has ruined things because of them being, and exactly what you just said, they become so fearful of being yelled at or being somebody being angry with them based on their experiences that they've had, that they go into a defense mechanism and they shut down. And they literally, my experience, that they literally can block out people.
The whole world. They can happening around them.
Right. They literally can block people out as if they don't exist.
Right.
And it's a defense mechanism. And then there was something that you said about that whole notion of not feeling worthy or not feeling like you could do it. Because see, that's a part of that whole package too. And thankfully, you were able to pull yourself out of it with a lot of wise counsel. Some people aren't. Some people wind up really going backwards.
Yeah, man.
Because of that. But what I heard from you was and see, I'm sitting here listening to you saying, wow, this is a mirror. I know why me and you connected. Because people always ask me, well, what drives you in terms of what you're doing with the boys? I said, well, let me tell you what drives me. Young man, again, at the time, me and my sister, we didn't know we were quote unquote poor. As far as we know, everybody in the neighborhood, actually, we had more than most of the kids on the block. But still, we were, we would have been considered, poor. Okay.
Right.
But from that, I've had the opportunity to, like you just said, travel the world. I've been all over Europe. I've been all over the Caribbean. I've been, all over the United States. And I met all kinds of folks. I was just talking before we went on the air that I have a photo, and Colin Powell passed this week. I have a photo that I met Colin Powell some years ago, and it hangs in my office. So needless to say, I've been posting it all over Facebook and social media.
That you better.
But
memory alive.
I know that's right. But the point is, and I always tell the parents and the boys, if it can happen for me, it can happen for you. I love that quote that you just said, and I got to put that on Facebook, and you'll have to let me know who it was that said it about. Don't let anybody be more excited about your future than you. I'll have to get it and write it down so that I can get it exactly. But I mean,
I'll send it to you. Absolutely.
That's what we do in terms of trying to help others, and obviously it's happened for us. And that's why I always tell people, I don't ever stand in, like if I have a teacher or something that comes to me and they want to transfer or they're getting a promotion or whatever, I never stand in anyone's way because no one has ever stood in my way.
Yeah, man.
The mentorship and having someone to have that belief and faith in you, even when sometimes you don't have it in yourself.
Right. Because sometimes I need yours in order to get started.
Yes.
Back in the day, it was very common to see two cars facing each other with the hood up, right? The cables going between.
Correct.
Because we needed a hot shot, right? I need you to get me. You got to jumpstart me. I got the mechanisms. I have the structure to do it, but I can't get started.
Right.
I need you to help me get this thing started, man. And so individuals that do what we do for others, and see, the amazing thing about it is that we all are a battery for somebody.
Correct. I like that.
Each and every one of us, whether it's not only the principles of the world, and you got to be a Rodney with that kind of, because sometimes that feels lofty, right? And it looks shiny. And if we really had time, I can just really unpack and tell like how as a professional, my furnace went out one year. I didn't have the money to fix it, and I heated my home by Mark. We kept warmth in the home by baking everything and running the dryer. We washed everything, right? Everything was a load of clothes. Everything was a load of clothes to keep that dryer going, and also to have the oven going. I mean, we baked. There was so much cake in the house during that little winter period. We cake all the time, but we baked everything. Things that you would normally make on the stove, we threw it in the oven because we just needed to keep the heat going through. Like stories like that, truths, realities like that don't come out in a photo shoot, right? They don't come out on a magazine cover, and I'm grateful for those things. But it is the story that undergirds those experiences that equips our ability, folks like us, everyday people, to make these connections, right? Not only to be the battery for another person, but getting better and better at tapping into others like us who can keep us recharged as well. That's the circle of life, man.
I know that's right. And I love that analogy about, a dead battery having to get a jump, having to get a boost. Yeah. Absolutely. Right. And the fact that you just said we're all batteries for someone else. I mean, because I'm sitting here, whenever I was I had transitioned from corporate America to education. Mm-hmm. And my mentor was the principal of a school. And as soon as I had the conversation with him, he happened to be our fraternity brother as well, he said, "You're not going anywhere but his school at the time, which happened to be School 6. And we had this conversation, and the wheels started rolling. So I got in there, and I had already had one master's. I had my master's in communications. He says, "You got to go back to school." I said, "What do you mean I got to go back to school?" I said, "I just did a master's program." He said, "No, you're going back to school." I said, "No, I'm not going back to school." He said, "No, you're going back to school." Ultimately, I did wind up going. But I had him, and then I happened to be in another fraternity brother's office, and we were discussing it. And this is what I said, "Man, I really don't feel like doing another graduate program. I just finished one, this, that, and the other." He said, "No, you're going." We were in his office, Rodney. He opened up the application right there and forced me to fill out the application right there in his office. That's how my second grad degree came about, and how I was able to become principal, because that was the whole point of, you can't move into administration unless you have the master's in education. That's nice, you have the master's in communication, but you can't move in education till you get a master's in education. So if it wasn't for those two batteries, I wouldn't be sitting in the principal seat. And so that story came to mind. But there has always been a battery there to jumpstart my battery. I'm gonna stay
Right.
with your analogy, and
The batteries are important, man.
it is, and it's critical, and now you're down in Baltimore, and Baltimore is an urban area just like Patterson is,
Right.
and predominantly you're dealing with African Americans, Hispanics, or what have you, and you
Right.
know we constantly need to see other batteries who look like us.
You have to, man. And one of the things that happens with that trauma that we were talking about earlier, because a lot of times it's hard to look at a 17-year-old that look like they don't care, that look like they would ready to fight or catch an attitude about anything. It's hard to look at them and remind yourself that this is the outplay, this is the outcropping of trauma, right?
Yes.
Inside of there is trauma, and it just looks a little bit different than what we would say, traditional, battered spouse syndrome may look like, or orphan kid or something like that. Like, we have these constructs of what we think it should, but the kaleidoscope of humanity can display itself in different ways. One of the most helpful things that I have learned for myself as a recipient, and then being able to thus give it out, is honoring the truth of a person's situation. This is what I mean by that. So if I'm coming to a group of young men, right, and I'm only giving them the good, you know what you gotta, and you know you should, and this is what we all gotta do, and it doesn't take a moment to sit down and not only hear, but validate. Yeah, man, if I have a buddy of mine, his name is Will, and he said this, Principal Mark. He said, I'm training myself, Rod, to accept the truth that everybody is rational and right thinking in their own way based on their experiences. I was like, what'd you say? He said,
Correct.
I'm training myself. He said, because it's easy to write folks off as crazy, as immature, as what you said don't make no sense. He said, but if I were in their situation, if I grew up the way they grew up, if I had people interacting and dealing with me, and so you got folks that's quick to cut somebody off,
right?
Quick to break up, quick to get out of relationships, quick to start, quick to put up walls, quick to whatever it is, they're flaky or whatever bad quality that we want to throw up there. It's easy to say, oh, you're just this because of this reason.
Right.
However, if we practice the art, the skill, the science of putting ourselves through their 10, 15, 20, 35, 40 years of living, having the letdowns that they have experienced, the conversations, the promises unfulfilled, etc., would I be as cautious as they are? Would I be as flaky as they seem to be? Would I be as untrusting of moving forward if I were them? And the truth of the matter is yes. I don't care what person they want to support, what political ideology, what religious ideology. Nobody calls themselves a bad guy. Nobody views themselves as a terrorist, right? Nobody calls themselves a hater. Like, say hi to the haters. Everybody in the audience would be hi. Well, who's the haters then? Like, who we talking to?
No, you're absolutely right in terms of what you just said and what your friend just said about, the lens of the other person. I shared it with my staff earlier, and I shared it with my aunt last night. I just finished this really short book, and you may have read it. It's called The 4 Agreements. And
the 4 agreements, I've read it. I saw YouTube about it.
Okay, so the 4 agreements are, be impeccable with your word, don't take things personally, don't make assumptions, and do your best. That's the 4 agreements. And what you just said is in the don't take it personally section of that, in terms of, and you're absolutely right, because see, this is where, and again, because I've been dealing with folks that are dealing with these kind of issues, borderline personalities, depression, bipolar, and all of that, they didn't ask for that, but as you said, their various experiences have now caused it. And the thing is, it can be masked, because you could be smiling and going along and in so much pain on the inside.
That's right.
Which drives that feeling of unworthiness, and like you just said, I can't trust anymore because I've been burned so many times, so forth and so on. And that's why it is so, and in the school system,
right.
That's why we get so many different behaviors. And it's real easy to just say, like you just said, oh, he's just bad.
But he's just bad.
Right. And like, no. If we, like you just said, if we have gone through the experiences they've gone through, we'd be doing the same thing. And the other thing you said when you gave the story about whenever your heater was off and you did all the big, that's why I love biographies and autobiographies, because I love behind the scenes. I know what we see on the camera and in front of the camera, but there's a whole nother story going on behind the scenes. Kind of like what I just said. Folks that are suffering with these different traumas and whatnot, they can mask it to the best of their ability whenever they have to, work or go to church or do whatever they do. But on the inside, they're in pain. Right. And so I always love the behind the scenes in terms of folks don't realize what you had to go through to get to where you are.
Right. And if we don't tell them,
and
if we don't make the effort, because it's not on them to kind of, they know, they should know everything ain't perfect. We have to be willing to be a little bit vulnerable, a little bit, transparent, a little bit. And so I've been really grateful, man, because I've been moving into a space over the past 3 to 4 years, Mark, where maybe more than that. That 2-year period of COVID kind of, it throws off the timeline. I don't know if it's been 5 years or 2 years or last year, man. It's a little foggy, right? But over the past recent set of years, I've been increasingly experiencing quality relationships that have allowed me to experience myself in different and better ways, right? Allowed me to see my own value because of the value that I'm bringing. It's very much a reciprocal. One of the things that I always say about the word relationship, and I use that word a lot because that's the entirety of living on this earth, right? Unless you live somewhere off in the mountains, right, just by yourself in a hut, you have to interact. You have to interact with other people, even if it's online. And so relationships are such a big thing in communication. It's funny that you said you have a master's of communication. I teach communication on the collegiate level. It is the mainstay of what I do in my settings. And it's about, again, how I said, how we talk to each other and how we talk to ourselves. Well, you think about the word relationship, it's a relay, like a relay race, back and forth. And in order to have illumination, in order for a light bulb to come on, in order for the hot shot for the battery between the two cars, it's not just a cord that runs from that one good battery, so to speak, to the battery that needs the hot shot. It has to be another cord that runs from the battery that needs the hot shot back. It's two-way.
Correct.
This is relationship. And until we can also sit down in the dirt and cross our legs and receive as well as share, right? And then validate. I have to go back to that because these tools, these coping mechanisms, this anger, this sharp wit, this whatever it is, this attitude, this shutdown, this I'll tune you out and the world could be happening around me and I'll act like I don't even know it. All of that stuff, I earned that. This is my stuff. My name's on this. And so think about actual belongings. It's my stuff. And so we people are coming in like, hey, all that over there that's yours with your name on it, throw that away. It's not useful. This literally has saved my life. What are you talking about? Like, this kept me when my uncle was abusing me and molesting me.
Right.
My ability to tune out. And now I'm mad at you, and you're thinking that I'm just trying to get you not to ignore me in the classroom, right? And instead, I'm over here flashback into some other thing that has literally kept me whole.
That is absolutely right.
Man, Mark, and so I share these sort of things. And so first of all, we have to give people the space, even if they don't want to say it out loud, because everybody's not outwardly expressive about their hurts and their experiences, but you give the space for expression to happen, right? And it's a tons of way to do that in workshops and facilitation. And I actually train other facilitators on how to do the same thing, right? Because there's no such thing as a one only lonely. Yes, I can do it, but there's techniques. Somebody said, I tweeted this recently, that success is not a secret. It's a skill. We can teach success. We can teach this. We can teach how to become different and better, right? So we honor that, and then we can teach them how to unlearn. Right. That was good for you. That was great. and it got us to here. And you probably wouldn't have made it to here, given everything that you've also had to deal with, if you didn't have those skills. So we honor that. And now, like a commencement ceremony, we're going to take that off. That was good for first, second, third grade. That was good for middle school youth. That was good for high school youth, right? But we're moving on to different and better. We honor that. We needed that. Them big old fat pencils and all that other stuff from elementary school. Like, you needed that. But you can't go on with using those same tools. And then we let them see big picture. You can keep it. It's fine. You can keep that same mentality, that same approach, but understand the baggage fees that's associated with
correct. And that's another very good analogy in terms of baggage fees, because unfortunately, we do have folks that pay exorbitant baggage fees. They're very costly. And interesting, there was something you were saying about as you were now working with people yourself, how you were developing. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is Proverbs 11:25. And it says, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed.
I like that.
And so it's and that's the NIV version. That's the New International Version. But that's one of my favorite verses. In other words, as you're watering the plants, you can't help but get a little bit of water on you.
It's going to happen.
Yes.
It's going to happen. And people around us, the truth of the matter is there's a verse in the Bible that says that it rains on the just and the unjust.
Correct.
Right? Well, so I'm gonna take that into the context of the verse that you just used, right? The opportunities to be refreshed is all around all of us.
Yes.
The situation is our experiences have kind of filtered our lenses, right? So we got some UV blockers and some blue light blockers, and we can only see. Can I do something with the guests real quick? I know they can't actually see us.
Man,
Mark, I want to
do
like
you do what you want to do. You got it.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Watch this. Here we go. All right, guys. Humor Mark and I for a second, right? Just do this with us for a second. Take your left hand, wiggle your left fingers on your left hand. Left hand, wiggle your fingers. Take your left wiggled fingers, right? Take that hand and place it over your eyes. Okay? It's over your eyes. All right? Now, I want you to name everything that was around you that was orange. Give you 2 seconds to think about it. Keep your eyes closed, though. Eyes closed. Everything that's orange, just kind of think about it. 4, 3, 2. Okay. Now, open your eyes. More than likely, you couldn't think about 1, 2 things, maybe most, that was orange. Now, look around. See what's orange. Look around. I bet that thing you was thinking about over there is next to something else that's orange. Look behind you. All of a sudden, orange is popping up.
That's right.
Right?
That's
orange,
right.
Orange. Okay. One more. Part two. Cover your eyes again. Cover your eyes. Left hand only. Only left hand, though. Only left hand. Mark, sometimes we got to teach left and right. We got to teach grown folks.
Yeah, other left. Mark. That's right.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Cover your eyes. Now, name everything around you that's green. 8, 7, 6, 5. Green stuff only. 3, 2. Okay. Were you able to think of anything? Look around. And if you are like most of us, keep looking. You see that over there? All of a sudden, like lights, the green, and oh, that's green, and that's green. Okay, yeah, that little thing over there, that's also green. And see, what happens is this, Mark. Nobody came while our eyes was closed and threw some orange stuff in the room, threw some green stuff. It was already there. But when we said, close your eyes and think about it, probably was nothing came to mind for most of us. Nothing came until we opened our eyes and we saw the orange. And then we closed our eyes again and had to think about the green. It's nothing in here that's green. I know that for a fact now. I mean, you got me on the orange. It's nothing in here. Oh, that's okay. That is green. Okay, got you. That's green too. And so we see the 2, 3 things that's always been there. There are people and givers and opportunities in our life right now to refresh us. The rain that is always there to help us step into a new life is there. But our filter, our mentality, our attitudes, our experiences, right? Our know-it-all because we're so smart, right? Our toughness, blocks out the things without us even being aware of it. We go through life never seeing an orange,
Correct.
Never seeing these green lights. And so what we do is we help engage the mind. When that phrase on my website that says unlocking human potential, I love it, right? But I didn't give myself that name. I didn't give myself that moniker of one of America's top leaders in unlocking human potential. There was a gentleman that I know that works for the federal government, and he has organizations around the country that report to him. He sends technical advisors out to them and all that kind of stuff, all over the country, rural, suburban, urban, all that. Well, I've done work with him for years, and this guy said that. This guy introduced me one day as that. Now, this dude has national presence. He has millions of individuals that work under his hundreds of millions of dollars that funnels through his department for them to get funded through the federal government. For him to say it, I took it as a huge honor. That's a qualified statement, right? That's not my mom who just wanted to see me do good because I'm a baby, right? Like that came from him. But this is what I'm talking about unlocking the potential that we have. That exercise that we just did is something that parallels life, and it's already in front of us. All we're doing is just unlocking it. We're not creating it. We're not starting over from scratch. It's there. We have this treasure already in the earthen vessel, and it's just up to people like you and I and each one of us to be the catalyst or the key to help us all unlock it.
I know that's right. And it's interesting because I did the exercise as well. While, I did the exercise with you. And immediately when you said, think of something orange, and I'm going to text you a copy of the picture that it's right here in the studio because the school colors are orange and black. So right here in the studio, there's a poster hanging says best college radio station, yada, yada, yada. It's orange. But then to my left on the computer screen was a school banner because the school is William Patterson and they take the WP and call it willpower. That's orange.
Gotcha.
All right. So then you said green. So when I was closing my eyes for green, nothing came to mind. But then when I opened my eyes, within that same orange poster is a trophy that has green in it. Up here on the one of the monitors here that has is a green strip. I'm sitting here. There's a green package sitting to my left. The squiggles on the radio board are green. and see, none of that came to mind a minute ago. Whenever you said think of something green, now the orange did, but the green. But you're right. It's around. The things are around us.
Yes, sir.
And it's just a matter of really tapping into it, or like you said, taking advantage of what you have around you and listening to it. Because again, what I heard from you was this whole notion of the mentorship and all the folks that have come into your path, but you had the willingness to listen to them.
That's a part of it, right? That's a part of it because you know, at the end of the day, if I don't choose to partake, it can be all around us. And that, man, you know, one of the things that makes me really humble, it almost breaks my heart, man. And just to use the cliche, it makes me sad a little bit because I get these, and we all get these little inner knowings, like these gut feelings, your intuition, the still small voice or whatever it is, you know, we say stuff like, man, something told me I should have. Well, I have those things happening, right? The willingness to listen to that, to be humble enough to not be too smart to think through it. Like, that's not even, or the negligence to think it's important but forget about it. So there have been times, man, where I've had that little nudging, that little inner knowing about something, and I act on it. Like something small, like send somebody that text right there. Or what? I mean, it's anything. And the response at times has been overwhelming. Oh my gosh, I literally just such and such because my mom, my aunt. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know that meant so much. I just was kind of, I don't know, following my little nudge, like following my gut. The problem is, Mark, the hundreds of times per day, per week, per month that I don't list, that I don't follow it, right? How easy could it be to help me, us, them kind of reach these new levels just by being humble enough, the willingness right, to receive and accept things that just seem so benign. And so that every time something major happens as a result of me following that, I appreciate it, yes, but it's a loud reminder to me of, dang, that I probably missed something like this recently. So just kind of keeping myself in this space of humbleness, man, of trying my best to realize that it's always a little bit more, right?
Right.
It's great. Everything's good so far. It's not throwing away past accomplishment and experience and achievements, but just letting it be known that, hey, bro, there's a little bit something for you, possibly. Who knows? For me, for Mark. And so anyway, one of those nudges was I was questioning whether or not to do that orange-green exercise. I was questioning that. Just, right before I said it, and I was like, this is stupid. We're on the radio. You can't see what the people are actually seeing in their homes, in their car, listening. And I decided to go with it. And who knew that it would have taken us to the willpower connection that was right there in your office. And I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that kind of stuff so much.
Well, I tell you what, you're getting ready to see it because I'm sending to you the photos on your text. So you're going to see it on your phone. Yeah, as you open up your phone, you're going to see the things that I was just talking about. That was orange and green.
Orange with the trophy. Yep. Yes, with the green trophy right there in the middle.
Yep.
The willpower sitting on a field of green trees and bushes and things of that nature, that orange. And then right there, the console. The IQ console with the green.
With the green, that's right. Goodness. And so that's what I'm saying. I did the exercise with you, and now the poster came to mind. That I knew. I knew that was orange. But all of our colors, there's orange and green all around me. And like you said, another part of that is we take so much for granted. And so that we don't even realize what's around us because if we're just kind of like floating along, moving through life, not really paying attention, but it's all around us. The help is there. The question becomes, are we going to take it? And do we have the wherewithal to take it? Now, see, this is like, and I get to see it all in the school systems. That's for sure. This week, I had a 9-year-old that was sent to my office because he wrote on a piece of paper, "I want to die." Woo! He's in 4th grade. It was on a little strip of paper, and it was a small I. This is how he wrote it: small I.
Come on, Mark.
WANNA DIE. That's exactly it. And if I remember, it was in either a red or orange pen, one or the other. But it was like I said, small I WANNA DIE. Pulled him into my office. We had a long time. I had to call his mom in. Ultimately, he had to get a psych eval before he come back to school, this, that, and the other.
Right.
But, I said, 9. I said, do you, in the conversation with him, I said, do you understand there are people, and I get it, you're 9, but I need you to understand there are people right now who are dying with a terminal illness who, if they could trade places, since you want to die, if they could say, can I stay here? And the one that want to die, can he go? I said, they would trade places with you. I said, I don't think you really want to die. Do you want to die? He stood firm for a little while. It took a while to convince him that he doesn't really want to die. But it goes back. Part of it goes back to the trauma that you was just talking about. And what I shared with the mom, having inflicted some trauma on my own kids, when their mom and I split and everything, I shared with them, and going back to the transparency thing, the transparency and the vulnerable thing, I shared with the mom, look, we as adults have no idea.
That's right, man.
What we have now put our children through, because they're not going to tell us. Yeah. Because it turns out in their particular instance, mom and dad was not together, and that was one of the questions I asked, does that bother you? And the little boy said, yes, it does. We have no idea the trauma that we put on our kids as adults. And this goes back to what you were talking about, and back to what I tell the teachers all the time. It's not a matter of the child just being bad. There is something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. Now, as it turns out, I don't know, because I think we follow each other on Facebook now, but while the little boy was in my office, he wound up drawing pictures of those of us who were meeting with him. And he drew a picture of me, Mr. Medley, and I posted that on Facebook. It hangs on my door. So when he came back in the next day, I made sure I pulled him in my office and had him look up at his painting, his picture hanging on my wall. And you should have seen the smile on his face.
Yeah, that adds value, man. That brings life and validation, man.
Yes. So needless to say, he no longer wants to die, but he will have to continue therapy, this, that, and the other. But I mean, my man had a plan. He was going to jump off a third floor, because that's one of the questions we have to ask. Do you have a plan?
Oh, wow. So it wasn't just a little.
No.
He had a plan.
He had a plan. He was going to jump off the top of a building.
We'd have lost him, bro.
Yeah. And so, we followed protocol, did everything we were supposed to do. Mom did what she was supposed to do and going to continue to do what she wanted. The little boy came back to school yesterday. He was fine.
Good work.
But
that was close, man.
Yeah. But
that was close.
Someone at that age, 9, only 9, and I cannot discount, because I was about to say, how much could you have experienced in 9 years? But that's the question we all had. It doesn't matter with age. Trauma is trauma.
Right. Trauma is trauma, and a lot for me may not be a lot.
Correct.
But it's a lot for me. It's a whole heck of a lot for me. Man, this is what I'm talking about, kind of like turning that camera inward, right? Turning that lens inward. I heard this whole story, and not only does my heart go out to this little boy in a huge significance that I hear you clearly, that little I, that lowercase little I, that in psychological circles, that speaks volumes about self-perception, right?
Yes.
We know that. So I hear you, and then I hear you talked about yourself as a parent and as a dad and your own trauma, and I immediately went to, I got 5 kids, man. I got 5 kids, and it's a good chance me doing the best that I can possibly do could very well, I heard somebody say this, that the best turkey dinner made with love, the best turkey dinner made with love, still has bones in it.
Correct.
Right? It still has parts I can't even...
That's another one you're going to have to text me so I can put on Facebook. I'm going to have a few quotes from you this morning.
I view myself as a honeybee. I view myself as like a little bee, man, going flower to flower. One second. I'm getting a text message.
Yeah, it's getting close to our time. I tell you, the time going to go fast.
It was like, are you coming to take the boy to football? So I'm getting in my car. You hear my car moving, but let me say this about being a honeybee, and I'm gonna get out of here. Bees, man, they play a very vital role, but what they actually do is that as they go to get some pollen,
right,
they drop off some pollen.
Correct.
So to get some more pollen, they drop off some pollen. And I have had the fortunate opportunity, man, to be around some phenomenal leaders in our world. Different people, leaders of industry, companies, organizations, heads of state, etc. And I get to learn and glean. And I've been given these nuggets.
We might have lost him. I hope we didn't lose him because I wanted to get his chance to promote. Maybe he might have gone out of rank. But we did say in the beginning, he told me he had a hard stop because he was going to his child's football game, homecoming game. So,
I'm still here.
They're good, because this is what happens, and what I'm going to do is, and since you have the mic while I have it, I know you got to run, you get an opportunity to promote, and you can shout out and say anything with the exception of a dollar amount, your websites, anything, anybody you want to, you can do that. I'm going to turn the microphone off. You could finish your point about the honeybees, but then go right on into, because I know you got to go, but then go right into your promotion, and you can say anything with the exception of a dollar amount. So the mic's yours.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna make this really quick, family, because I got to take my little one to football. His football game is homecoming. So, okay, let me say this. I have a gift that I would love to share for Mark's listening family. Right, I have a book called "Get Off the Cycle and Run." It's about breaking cycles. And becoming different and better. And it's full of stories like the ones I just told. That can be found on my website, on Amazon, all that kind of stuff. Mark, we actually hit #1. We were Amazon #1 bestseller, man. Very, very, very proud of that.
Way to go.
But that's not the gift. The gift that I want to give you is that we have a version of that just gets right to the nuggets, right? The 3 steps here and the 5 step there. And so instead of it being get off the cycle and run, it's a smaller version called Get Off the Cycle and Sprint, right? And on the cover of the book, both of the covers look exactly the same, but the word run is crossed out and the word sprint is written real big, because running is running, right? But sprint is an even faster run. And so in the front of the book, it says when you still need to get there but don't have the time, right, to listen to all of the stories. If you love the stories, go get the good book, right? Go get off the cycle and run. But if you just want to be connected, my website is Rodney C. Burris. My last name is Burris. You have a favorite social media, I'm on it. You on LinkedIn, I'm on it. You on Instagram? Instagram lets you see me having fun. So if you're like, who is this guy when he's just having fun? That's IG, right? If you really like the nuggets and the notable quotables that Mark and I have been sharing passing back and forth, that's Twitter, right? Twitter has a whole bunch of those type of nuggets. So if that's your speed and you really value those, that's great. You like the videos, jump on YouTube. You like to see like me and us and how we could interact in a professional sense, that's Facebook. So whatever your preferred modality of connecting is, let's stay connected. Let's build. Let's help the people that are helping the people. So, Mark, thank you so much for having me on your show, man. Again, my name is Rodney C. Burris. And bringing it full circle, the woman that he mentioned at the top of the hour, Pam Perry, she told me to my face, another one of those teachable moments. She said, Rodney, don't you ever present yourself. I was telling some people that I was Rodney Burris and some people that I was Rodney C. Burris. She said, Rodney C. Burris is a brand. And she was like, don't you misrepresent your brand anymore. Everywhere you will be Rodney C. Burris.
That's correct.
So anyway, it's little things like that, man, and I just appreciate that people have had the willingness to talk to me like we've been family forever. I appreciate the Pam Perrys of the world. I appreciate the Mark Medleys, the principles that have been in my life, man. So thank you for having me so much, and I look forward to being connected.
Man, I thank you. You brought the energy. I'm going to have you back so we can continue, because I know, again, he had to leave because he's going to his son's football game. Actually, I have a football game at 1 o'clock. One of my students, I promised him I was going to be there today, and he's the quarterback. So he was excited that his principal was going to be at his game today. So that's at 1 o'clock today. So, yes, you go to that football game, because our presence is so important.
That's right.
Like I said, in terms of that 9-year-old who now saw that I put his picture up hanging in my office, oh, my God, he was elated. So our presence is so important, and it is an inspiration. And thank you so much for unpacking that whole trauma piece, because I know people who have experienced and unfortunately are really going through a tough time right now because of exactly what you described. And I literally, I was sitting here almost about to go into tears as you was describing the whole trauma, the whole notion of parents yelling at them. They don't know if they're going to be yelled at. They're scared. It drives the anger and everything else. So for those educators out there, understand when the kids are doing what they do, it's not just a matter of they just want to be bad. There's something going on behind the scenes. And it is incumbent upon us to be that battery, to be that spark, to be that jumper cable. It's incumbent upon us to be that and to be able to recognize that it's not about just yelling and hollering and they just being bad. So, Rodney, I thank you for the work that you do. We will definitely be in touch. I will be sending you the links, and then, and now since we do things a new way with Zoom and Google and all that kind of stuff, if you want to take the drive up, by all means, it's like a 3 hour drive. Yeah. But if you want to do it on Google or Zoom, we had that ability now too.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Let's plan it out.
All right. Man, go enjoy your football game. We'll talk.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care.